Welcome all to the SnailTrail4x4 podcast. If you like going off-roading in Toyotas, renting on Toyotas, camping in Toyotas, and maybe even poking a little bit of fun at Toyotas, and of course, hearing about how fantastic your nonprofit trail advocacy organizations are in this country, then this is the podcast for you. That's right, ladies and germs. My name is Tyler, and joining me for another episode of the SnailTrail4x4 podcast is the one and only Mr. Public Lands himself. Fights for all of them. He has the best ideas. We were talking about this earlier. Like, if everybody just listened to him, the world would be a better place. It's Mr. Jimmy Jet.
Yes. I 100% agree.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Though we were in the context of talking about screaming and yelling at a TV when a football game was on.
Yeah. Why can't that football team just listen to me?
Yeah, I mean, I know what's best for them.
Oh, that's funny. We were. That's right. Anyways, welcome back to the podcast for another episode on Monday morning, bright and early for everybody.
Absolutely. I got asked to bump my time slots earlier.
Earlier than your 420?
Yep.
Wow. Why did the East Coasters not like they want to listen before 7:20 p.m. or a.m.?
It was by a person that lived in California.
What?
Yeah.
Does he not go to bed until 4? And so he wants him to...
Nope. Well, apparently I don't quite get it. So apparently by me releasing it at 4, because I just thought it was funny. I'm not even a pothead, but I said, let's release it at 4:20.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha. Supposedly it doesn't exactly come out at 4:20. I don't know how that all works. So he was saying it comes out somewhere around 5. And he's
what
like, so
platform does he listen on? Do you know?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably Apple.
Yeah.
And he drives to work around 4:00 in the morning.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm now releasing it at like 2.
That's what I try and aim for 2. I try. It doesn't always happen. I probably get it wrong more than I get it right.
Yeah.
But if I do get it done beforehand, I get the time set. I'm trying to set it around 2 to 2:30.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So that's, I think we're going to be ever so slightly ahead now.
Cool.
Just for you, Ryan.
Damn Ryans.
Yeah.
They're always so needy.
Trying to run the world.
I know. All right. Well, that's cool. So this episode's coming out a little earlier for you guys this morning. So you get your coffee.
It's no big deal to me.
Yes.
I mean, I'm doing it the day before and I just program it.
They don't need to know that, Jimmy.
I mean, I'm up all night long.
Yeah,
and now I just have to stay up or go to bed a little earlier or whatever. I don't know. Yeah.
Whatever it comes out to.
Yeah.
The magic of behind the scenes. Yeah, so Monday episode.
Yes, it is.
So bright and early. Hope everybody had a great weekend this weekend. I think we have some fun topics for you guys. I know that every time we kind of cover stuff like this today, we get some pretty good feedback and people thankful for it. So hopefully it's going to be some good stuff that you guys get to learn some things from. Until we get there though, we have some housekeeping, some announcements, I guess.
Yeah, we got a little bit of housekeeping still to do. We have a few giveaways going on for the month of November. We have the Duro Bumps giveaway. We have a front and rear set of Duro Bumps, courtesy of Duro Bumps. Thank you so much for donating those. If you're looking for some bump stops for your vehicle, make sure to check out Duro Bumps. If you don't think you need bump stops on your vehicle, go listen to episode, what was it, 554?
I think it's 554,
Duro Bumps, and that'll change. That episode will change your mind.
Yeah.
100%. So, and I'm very convinced that a lot of people don't need hydro bumps now.
I am too, after listening to that.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if you're considering getting some rubber bump stops or hydro bumps, think about Duro Bumps as a solution instead of your hydro bumps.
Yeah.
So front and rear set of bump stops for you. Thank you, Duro Bumps, for donating those for this month's giveaway. Thank you for joining us on the podcast. It was a lot of fun chatting with you.
I agree. It was an eye opener for sure. So I definitely was not especially for rock crawlers, bump stops are just go slow. Your suspension will figure it out. But after listening to that and hearing about his production processes and what he's done to make a cost-effective but yet very effective product, It's a no-brainer. You should be running bump stops.
I almost labeled that episode of redesigning bump stops.
Oh, yeah.
I almost labeled it that.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it was as search engine optimized.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, that's really what he did. I mean, he's redesigned the bump stop.
He really has.
What up, everybody? Hey, this is Jimmy from the future. And for the last few episodes, we've been forgetting to remind you that we have a discount code with Duro Bumps. You can get 15% off your order by using SnailTrail4x4. So that code ends on December 3rd. So get over there as soon as you can. If you need some bump stops, get over there, durobumps.com. Use the discount code SnailTrail4x4 to get 15% off. All right. Back to the regular scheduled podcast.
Sweet, man. Yeah, definitely go check out that giveaway over at Irate 4x4. Just get signed up for the giveaway tier if you want to be entered for a full set of Duro Bumps there for the month of November. So we'll announce the winners first week of December, most likely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hopefully.
Yep. We do have holidays coming up.
Yes,
so
we do.
got Black Friday coming up. We have a fun show planned for you guys next Monday, a week from today when you're listening to this. I know that there's a lot of Black Friday sales already starting, like almost as of today, which is kind of crazy, but it's happening. So check them out. There's a lot of really cool stuff out there. If you've been saving up your money and kind of waiting for this, supposedly this year's got some pretty cool stuff going on. So we'll maybe talk about a few of them next week for you guys.
Or maybe some items that you might be thinking about.
Consumables.
Yep, for sure. But you also have a chance to win a set of Yokohama tires. Probably not this Christmas, but near or soon, depending on how fast you guys leave us reviews. Because once we hit 750 reviews, we're giving away a set of tires from Yokohama Tire. Almost any tire you want. It just has to be smaller than a 20-inch rim and DOT approved.
Yep. And we are 90% of the way there on the reviews.
Yeah.
So we might be over 90% now, but we're at least 90% there in order to give away this set of Yokohama tires finally. So if you haven't gotten a review yet on Apple Podcasts, go do it. There's only like 75, 74, 73, 72 spots left open. So get in and do that if you've been holding off and haven't been doing it yet.
Absolutely. And before we get to 750 reviews, we're going to pass 700 reviews. And at 700 reviews, we're giving away a swag pack. So get in for those reviews. Just go over there to iTunes or Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review. That gets you entered for all the stuff we got going today and stuff for the future.
Sweet. I like it a lot. Good stuff. Any other announcements? Any other housekeeping things?
No, not really.
Okay.
No.
Sweet. Then let's take a quick break. Nice short and sweet intro today. And we'll get into some educational stuff about some things one of our favorite nonprofit organizations, BlueRibbon Coalition, is doing. They've been in a little bit of a flurry lately. So big update coming your way right after the break.
If you have a third-gen 4Runner and want 16 inches of wheel travel without cutting into your sheet metal, check out 4-Wheel Underground's brand new cantilever suspension, featuring an integrated anti-sway bar and turn-by-dial disconnect. Don't sacrifice performance and comfort for the sake of wheel travel. Get both with our new cantilever system at 4wheelunderground.com.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here on Monday, with some fun content for you guys, straight to your ear holes, about some things BlueRibbon Coalition has been up to.
They've been doing a lot lately.
They've been doing a lot. It's pretty crazy to see. When we first started talking with Ben and BlueRibbon Coalition, 2 years ago, maybe now?
Yeah.
2.5?
Maybe more. Yeah.
They were only involved with like a handful of things. Like they could only spread themselves so thin. But one of the first things that he said in one of our first episodes with him was, I want to do more. We just need the money.
Yes.
We need people to step up. And I guarantee you, and I promise you, if we get more money, more funding, we will go as hard as we possibly can, as wide as we can, and tackle a ton of different things.
Absolutely. And what are they doing?
They are going hard and wide right now. Man. They're hitting a lot of different topics right now in a lot of different places countrywide.
And what does that mean?
They are fighting litigations. They're watching. Obviously, we just had a pretty. It's a pretty important election in terms of public lands.
Yes.
Access moving forward, right? During the the current administration, there's a big movement towards 2030 or 30 by 30, the 30 by 30 movement, right? That kind of got accelerated quite a bit with BLM and public lands under the current administration. We've seen more national monuments pop up during this administration than ever before. And we've seen it's essentially turned into a lot of land grabs, and it feels like just plain out land grabs from public lands to rope them off from the public.
Right. Absolutely.
And so during the previous administration, the first time Trump was elected, we saw a lot of friendliness towards public lands. And we saw a lot of, I don't want to say leniency, but a lot of almost protection. There was some shutting down of national monuments, saying that just doesn't make sense.
Right.
Why would we do that? Why are we going to make something a national monument and lock people out of there? Like that doesn't make sense. We want people to go and enjoy those places. And so it seemed to be a lot more friendly towards public lands access. So after the election, during the election, everything going on, Blue Ribbon was watching for things very closely.
I'm sure they were. Yeah.
They have already started plans, started lobbying, started working on things to overturn a few things that happened with the Biden administration, started to keeping a very close watch on some lame duck policies. And so they got their lawsuit filed for the Labyrinth Rim and Gemini Bridges closures in Moab, which are, I think, a pretty strong case for how they put everything out there. And the state of Utah also filed its lawsuits against the BLM for the Gemini National Park Service and BLM for everything in that area too.
See, here I thought you were let me back up. Yeah. Here I thought one thing, but you went a completely and wonderful different direction, because I thought the answer for why BLM is going so strong and hard is because they got a lot of funding from all of our listeners out there. Therefore, now they can go fight all these fights because our people out here that are listening are supporting this fantastic organization. Well,
absolutely. I mean, because of people stepping up and backing Blue Ribbon Coalition, they're able to stay on top of these things now. They're hired and have on staff a law firm to start submitting all these legal documents and things that have to happen in the legal process to fight all these closures that we've been seeing happening.
Yes, absolutely.
And they
can't continue to do this without people's support
and continued support too. So it's definitely, we're seeing the fruits of everybody starting to come together and supporting organizations like Blue Ribbon Coalition. And hopefully after you guys hear about some of the stuff they're keeping an eye on and some of the stuff they're doing right now, you'll want to ensure you keep supporting them, especially over the next 3 or so months.
Absolutely.
And hopefully more than that, but especially over the next 3 or so months, as some of the things that they're noticing are really trying to get pushed through and expedited right now through government processes.
And I always hate the end and start of election time because it's just these pointless pushes. Like, I really want this thing done. Yeah. Okay. Well, it doesn't matter. We're changing governments or whatever. Just do it. It's geez, no.
And they use, in my opinion, what should be illegal tactics to do it. Like the whole point of our government, the way it's set up, is checks and balances.
Yes.
And there's rules set aside that allow the presidents to do a presidential, I forget what it's called.
The pardons and all that.
Presidential pardons. I don't think presidential pardons should be a thing. But in this case, presidents can pass emergency laws, essentially making something a law and bypassing Congress altogether.
Yeah, like the very end of their presidency.
A lot of times it happens in the first 100 days of a presidency, and then it happens in the last 100 days of a presidency.
Yeah.
And I don't think those should be able to happen at all. I think they're stupid. I think they bypass the whole concept of government. And in order to get those taken back, you have to go through the judicial system, lengthy legal cases in order to get them overturned, right?
Yeah. It's just one government group going against another.
It really
one
is.
way or another.
And that's a way a lot of times how these presidential acts end up feeling is that they're just saying, well, we couldn't get it passed while I was president as with the Congress and through the normal checks and balances. So fuck you. I'm just going to do it anyways.
Yeah. I'm just going to do it
and
randomly.
it's more just like flipping the bird to the other party. And I'm like, you guys, why do we have to behave this way? Like,
no, I know, but that wasn't the point of what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I agree. Anyways, I'm going to get first into the lawsuit.
Okay.
In Utah over Gemini Bridges and Labyrinth Rims.
Yeah.
We've kind of been covering that for multiple years now.
Yes,
What's been going on there? We've had Ben Burr from BlueRibbon Coalition on multiple times to talk about that process and how that's looking in Utah. So they got their lawsuit submitted.
Excellent.
And the state of Utah has got their lawsuit submitted.
Wonderful.
And a lot of the same arguments are being said from both sides, both of those lawsuits, right?
I'm sure they were working hand in hand for the most part.
I'm sure they were.
Yeah.
So here are some of the main arguments in the lawsuit that Blue Ribbon is putting forth.
Okay.
As to why the actions of the BLM and National Park Service, I think it's a National Park Service, I could be wrong, that's looking over these trail sections and the land managers of the Labyrinth Rim and Gemini Bridges, why their actions were illegal.
Oh, okay.
So
they're not saying this is why it should be opened. It's actually going after the agencies.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yep. Yeah, you can't
take it to the BRC.
Yeah. So the judicial system does not make calls on how land is managed.
Okay.
It's up to the judicial system to say whether or not the land managers are behaving legally or not, according to statutes, law, etc., like anything like that. They're not. So yeah, I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
So anyways, these are the legal things that Blue Ribbon has come up with. Number one is that this grab and the closure of the 450 some odd miles, 400, I think it was 420, 26, something like that, miles in the Labyrinth Rim Gemini Bridges area was a constitutional violation. So it violated the Constitution of the United States in the sense that Blue Ribbon says, we argue that BLM's decision violates the U.S. Constitution's appointments clause. Only properly appointed officials should have the power to decide such impactful closures, especially when the closures carry substantial penalties for those who enter these areas.
Okay.
And the argument there is that BLM is not a publicly elected government body, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
It's appointed by government officials. And so and in this case, I guess the people of the regional offices of the national office in BLM, Ben argues that they were not even appointed correctly.
Oh.
And so the appointment that happened and has been happening with BLM, the process of that is a constitutional violation in and of itself. And that essentially I think he's trying to make the argument that how the BLM is run is fundamentally illegal.
Okay.
I think that's what they might be trying to get to.
Wow.
In the long term, right?
Yeah, I know in one of the previous episodes, he was stating that the fact that because BLM is an appointed position, how do the people in that area have control over who's in that position?
Exactly.
Right. Because
the decisions that are made in that area.
And the decisions that are made in that area, because the people that live in that area now have no control over any of this.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because it's an appointed position by somebody in government.
Yep.
Then they might be voting for the person that is in the government seat, but that person that's in that government seat doesn't listen to the people when they're appointing a position over them that has conflicts on what could or could not happen to the public.
Exactly. So in my opinion, based on our conversations with Ben in the past, I think he's trying to make an allusion to just how BLM positions are set up are illegal or should be illegal. They should not be appointed positions. And since BLM is holding land in trust for the public and then making regional decisions based on their geographic location in the regional offices, which are really the decisions are coming from people outside of those regional areas, that those BLM positions need to be elected officials.
I agree. I believe that is 100% correct. Yep.
I would 100% agree with that too. And I think that they're on a good path to hopefully maybe correct that in the future.
Sure.
So that's point number one.
Okay.
Point number two is that they created an illegal buffer zone.
Okay.
By closing off some of these lands. So the BLM, by closing popular routes such as Heijo Canyon and Dead Cow Loop,
okay,
the BLM's plan violates the Dingle Act by effectively creating a buffer zone around the Labyrinth Canyon wilderness. Our legal team highlights that Congress specifically forbids using restrictive management in non-wilderness areas to limit noise and visual impacts to wilderness areas. Yet BLM's decision literally states that's what they're doing.
Right.
And part of it was in the BLM, when they put out all their statements of what they're doing and why they chose what they did, there was a couple of the routes that were stated as closure points because they were too loud for the rafters down on the river in the wilderness areas.
Well, rafters shouldn't be in a wilderness area anyway.
It's a non-motorized thing.
Oh, okay.
Right? But the point is that they're closing those things in order to create a buffer zone, a noise buffer for the wilderness areas.
Yeah. Okay.
And apparently
that is a no-no.
That's explicitly a no-no.
Right. Well, I like that. Good,
so
good find in that rule book there, BRC.
That should be very cut and dry.
Yeah.
Number three is that a lot of the closures were arbitrary closures.
Yeah.
The closures are not only unconstitutional, but are also arbitrary. They disregard essential congressional mandates that require BLM to prioritize public recreation. And we document numerous instances where routes were unjustifiably closed despite no evidence of environmental harm.
Okay.
So most of the BLM's job is to hold the lands in trust for the public, right? And to manage the lands in trust for the public. And part of the managing mandate is for recreational purposes.
Yep.
And part is for harm to the land, right?
Sure.
So they have to balance this recreation versus land harm, right?
Yeah.
And BLM is arguing that they're closed a lot of these routes due to harm to the land. And we have seen over and over and over from video evidence, from anecdotal evidence, that a lot of these places and trails got closed without any sort of on-site evaluations of the trails.
Yes.
They looked at trails in an office and said, yeah, there's too many trails in this area. Let's close 3 of them.
Right. Yeah. Without ever going out there, without her seeing if there was any harm done.
Yep.
They just decided that, let's just close these.
Yep. And then you've got groups like BlueRibbon Coalition and Ben himself going out to these routes that are closed or were being closed at the time, getting video of them and saying, where's the harm? This is barely tire tracks. You can barely tell that people have been through here in the first place. There's no evidence of trash, human feces. There's no harm to the land anywhere around here. What is their claim then?
Yeah.
And so that's arbitrary closures.
Arbitrary closures.
Yep.
And how they should not be done.
Yep. So the next point is environmental policy concerns.
Okay.
Finally, the plan bypassed essential requirements under the National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA. Such a sweeping decision should have undergone a full environmental impact statement due to the significant implications for the human environment. In essence, they're saying there were arbitrary closures that did not have NEPA evaluations done.
Yep.
And the BLM is claiming that they were closed due to being harmful land, and the land was harmed, even though they never did NEPA evaluations on it.
Yeah, exactly. They never did the survey. So how do they know that there's problems out there?
Yep.
And since they never did the survey, they don't know there's problems and they're still closing them. So that's illegal.
Exactly. Yep. And Number 5, and the last main point that they're filing on is they're ignoring recreational mandates, which kind of goes back to the purpose of BLM and kind of the argument of what they're there for. Our lawsuit highlights that BLM's decision fails to consider the statutory mandate to prioritize recreational access on public lands, a point reinforced by a recent Supreme Court ruling in Loper Bright Enterprises versus Raimondo, which overturned the Chevron deference precedents.
Yep.
This landmark decision emphasizes that agencies cannot disregard specific congressional instructions. Yet, by treating all use as inherently harmful, BLM's approach effectively ignores the directive to balance recreation with conservation.
I like it.
Yep. Right? And then it goes on to state that the state of Utah also filed their opening brief on the same day, which we have also made available for you to read. The federal government has until January 10th to reply to our brief, which will be the next step in this challenge.
Perfect.
Yep.
Well, they're making the necessary steps that you have to go through in a legal hurdle like this. And I think they're coming with some very strong arguments.
I agree. I think that there's some very strong cases here, very strong evidence for where BRC is putting their foot in BLM and into the fight here. So I think it's going to be really cool to see where this goes in the future. And I think that we're heading in the right direction.
I agree.
And I think that the current state of government, or the upcoming state of government, is going to be very sympathetic towards more sympathetic towards public lands.
I agree.
And public land access moving forward.
Yeah. So, and they've proven it in the last time that they were in office.
Yep. Yeah. So that's the Utah and Gemini Bridges Labyrinth Rims update.
Yeah.
Some other fun things.
Yeah, they have more
that they've been up to. So wait, folks, that's not all. They just sent out their action alerts email, right? So it's an email that they put out every so often whenever there's an important thing that Blue Ribbon is making comments on. One of the things that Ben talked about last time we had him on was that in order to file a lawsuit, in order to take legal action against some of these decisions with regards to public lands closures, you have to have left public comments and been involved with the public comment period before the decision was made.
Absolutely.
Right.
If you want a part of it in any way, you have to be a part of public comment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they put out these action alerts that say, hey, public comment period is coming up for these items. You should write in.
Right.
Because the more voices that gets written in from Blue Ribbon, the stronger Blue Ribbon's case is listened to, the more credence is put behind it.
Okay.
When it comes time to fight a legal action in the future if they need to.
Cool. I like
so
it.
they put out these action alert emails. If you're signed up on Blue Ribbon's email list, please, anytime you see an action alert email come through, just look through it real quick and see if there's something that you really care about that you want to put your 2 cents in on.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So what was this action alert?
This was a lot of action alerts.
Oh, is there more?
Typically the action alert email comes through with like 1, 2 things.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 if it's a busy month.
Sure.
This one came through with 1, 2, 3, 4 action alerts.
Oh man.
On this email that came through.
Why did I miss this?
I don't know.
Need to get them starred in my Gmail.
Yeah. So one reason why I think there's so many action alerts coming through in this particular email is because of kind of what we talked about earlier, lame duck policies, lame duck presidential mandates that are trying to go through, and lame duck. I mean, all these BLM positions are appointed, right?
Yep.
So as there's a change in government, those appointments may stay, or they may find themselves out of jobs and somebody else is appointed.
Yep.
And so there seems to be a rush right now of different land managers trying to push through policies very quickly right now.
Sure. And now there's a fight back on Blue Ribbon Coalition's side.
Yes.
Against them.
Yep. So I'm gonna read through the kind of the explanation from BRC on a lame duck policies.
Okay.
So the risks of a lame duck president. However, There are many immediate risks that we cannot ignore. President Biden is now a lame duck president whose policies were decisively rejected by voters last week through executive orders and congressional action taken by strong majorities. Any last-minute efforts to secure a legacy through presidential action can and likely will be reversed. Unfortunately, from what we've seen in the last few days following the election, this administration is already making last-minute lame duck land grabs, and we will be gearing up to oppose them.
Okay.
For example,
ready.
On Friday, the BLM in Oregon released their final Lakeview Resource Management Plan, which essentially shuts down almost the entire planning area, which includes Christmas Valley sand dunes.
Oh.
We will be spending the coming weeks preparing an objection to this plan to secure our legal standing to challenge the plan in federal court if necessary. We are worried that this will be the first of several plans outstanding that get rushed through in the coming weeks. We'll be tracking them all, and we'll be fighting for you every step of the way. Of course, the biggest threat of all is that we will get millions of acres of last-minute lame duck national monuments. This is a red alert situation, and we will be profiling all of the monuments that we believe are at the highest risk of being designated in the coming days. We will have actions that you can take to help build a record of opposition to each one so that the new president and the new Congress will have strong support to take necessary action to reverse these lame duck designations. Today, we have an action alert you can use to send current members of Congress strong message, blah, blah, and that's where all the action alerts come into play down in the bottom of the email. And there's 4 of them.
Okay.
So the first one.
Ready.
South Sandwash Open OHV area in Colorado.
Okay.
Proposes additional recreation opportunities.
Oh.
That means the OHV area in Colorado, which usually is kind of like a state-run program. OHV programs typically are.
Okay.
Provides OHV recreation in the Little Snake Field office in Northwest Colorado. The area is used for OHVs, dispersed camping, and enduro races. The area is also popular for wildlife viewing, including feral horses. The proposal includes additional parking and staging areas, signage, restrooms, dumpsters, campsites, picnic tables, pavilion, and shade structures. BRC obviously supports this.
Yes.
So if you are in the Colorado area and you want to try and make sure that that stays as the status quo, go to Blue Ribbon's website, find the action alert on that area, which is the South Sandwash Open OHV area in Colorado, and just leave your 2 cents about why you think that should be supported, why you think that should continue to move forward.
Right. I'll try and add links to every single one of these action items in the show notes.
Cool.
So
I have the links here so I can easily send them over to you.
That, or there'll be a link to BRCs where all those action items are. Well, one way or another, a link will be in the show notes for these items.
Cool. The next one, Glen Canyon OHV proposals, which includes Poison Springs and other routes, will be off limits. So we got a lot of route closures.
Okay.
Proposed.
And where is this?
National Park Service in around Lake Powell. So this is the one that I was talking about earlier.
Yep.
I don't know if it was in this episode or previous episode.
No, it was in Thursday's episode.
Thursday. The National Park Service is accepting public comment through November 15th. So that might actually be too late by the time this episode comes out.
Yeah.
On new guidance for off-road vehicle use throughout Glen Canyon National Recreation Area that encompasses Lake Powell. Due to a lawsuit from the Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance, SUWA, who we've talked about extensively in the past.
Damn SUWA.
The National Park Service is required to revisit OHV use to shoreline access and unpaved roads to make it more restrictive to users. The proposal will prohibit ORVs and street legal ATVs from using 24 miles of roads around Lake Powell. The National Park Service can comply with the settlement agreement by simply managing the areas for use with their proposed speed limits and quiet hours. However, they're taking it too far with closure proposals that are likely going to violate recent court decisions related to RS-2477 roads.
So if you want to keep those roads open around Lake Powell area, then it might be too late for this, but hopefully you guys get frustrated about that and sign up for the newsletter with BRC.
Yep. The next one is Aloha Trout Forest Management proposing additional roads in Oregon. The BLM in Oregon is proposing a forest management project that will help the forest be healthier and prevent wildfire through commercial thinning, harvest, and other treatments. It's located west of Eugene and Corvallis.
Okay.
Along with the forest proposals, the BLM will need to do road maintenance and construct 7 new miles of roads. It isn't every day that land management agencies propose new routes. It is still unclear whether the proposed new roads will be open to public access, though. BRC needs help submitting comments to the BLM in support of this project and also to advocate the additional roads be open for public use. Roads are better maintained if the public can use them, and these roads will aid in forest treatments, emergency response, and preventing wildfire.
Okay.
We saw it in Caldor.
Yep.
Trails and roads throughout the Caldor fire burn area were absolutely used for fire management, egress in and out of the area, for safety of the firefighters, the hotshot crews. Its road infrastructure is important for forest health and being able to have an actively and properly maintained forest. And so at least that's the argument. And that's part of one of the things that came out from the Caldor fire that we learned.
Well, and prime example of that is Strawberry Pass.
Yep.
Where it was an off-road trail. It was a trail that was closed. And was it the Golden State or Gold Hill Posse?
Yep. Gold Hill Posse.
Gold
That's
Hill
the trail.
Posse trail. They fought really hard to get it reopened, did a lot of trail maintenance to get it reopened, got the trail open again, had some fun obstacles on it. And then the Caldor fire rolled through and they pretty much took a dozer through that trail, flattened that trail out because they needed the trail, or they needed the road there where the trail was so they could get firefighting crews into the important areas.
Yep. So they were using it as egress in and out, a very important one, as well as they were using it as a big fire line.
Yeah.
Too, at that point.
Which, I mean, I'm sad that we lost a trail. The trail is still open. The road's still open now. But if that trail wasn't there, then they wouldn't have been able to do that.
Correct. Yep.
So it's actually a benefit that the trail was there.
Yep, exactly. So anyways, give your support to that. And one of the best ways to maintain trails is to let people use them. If you don't let people use them, they get overgrown, they become unmaintained, and issues start happening with the trails, and land managers close them because issues are happening. As long as people are educated about picking up after themselves while using the trails, that's one of the best ways to maintain trails, is to let people drive on them and use them for access.
Right.
The last one is sign the solar petition to keep solar developments off of prime recreational areas. And we talked I think we mentioned this a little bit in a previous episode of the potential for BLM that was wanting to start selling off public lands to private organizations for long-term leases.
Yep.
It wasn't selling the land legally, but effectively they're selling the land.
Sure.
To private organizations to be used for green
zero emission
green projects, right?
Green offsets for their business.
Yep. And a lot of the lands that they're looking at was going to be recreational lands.
Yeah.
And so this is just another thing. The BLM has released the final Western solar plan that will fast track solar developments. After the release of this plan, we have seen many new solar proposals across the Western states. Sign the petition below to add your voice in keeping solar farms away from where we recreate.
So does that one have a due date on it?
It does not have a due date.
Okay.
But yeah, you don't want to sit around on that one because it happens, and it happens quickly.
Yep.
And a lot of times it happens without very much notice because they like to keep things quiet like that until they happen. We had a listener call in or write in about Massachusetts, and the wind farms that got put up didn't work and are currently getting torn down, but they got put up on public lands, and now those lands are no longer accessible.
Yep.
Even after the wind farms and quote unquote green projects are coming down.
Yes, absolutely.
So
what was happening over there is now happening over here.
Yep, exactly. So that's a bunch of the updates from BlueRibbon Coalition. There is a strong worry just because of how much 30 by 30 was being pushed as a thing, that There's going to be a lot of expedited land management plans coming out, because that was one of the big things that's been on the map for BLM offices to be working on. We saw the one in Idaho come out that got overturned thanks to all the public comment on it. We saw the one come out in Utah that didn't get overturned and got one of the second most restrictive plan. And we're seeing other places and other offices starting to expedite their plans through right now. Blue Ribbon is doing their best to stay on top of it all. So support them and keep an eye on the action alerts. I have a feeling there's going to be quite a few of them coming out in a flurry of
here in this last 100 days.
In the last 100 days or so of the current administration. So that's the update for today.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know. I feel like whenever we do public lands episode kind of thing, we kind of come out at the end of it like, man, this sucks.
Yeah.
And to an extent, it kind of sucks, but also at the same time, because I think we've come together a lot more than we ever have as an industry over the past couple of years, that I think we're in a really good spot to start watching these and fighting them. And I think that the court case that BRC is putting forth towards the Gemini Bridges Labyrinth Rims area is a prime example of what we can do as we start working together as an industry.
Yeah.
So
I was semi thinking the same thing. I was more leaning on the Blue Ribbon Coalition side of things, because like there's a lot of things hitting the wall here, or happening right at this last minute, and then, the 19th or 9th hour or whatever they call, and it sucks. And there's, and what can we do about it? Well, Blue Ribbon Coalition's helping us solve that question of what we need to do to solve these things.
Yeah.
Right. By these, go over and sign up for their newsletter, or go give them some money, or volunteer if you can, but following an organization like Blue Ribbon Coalition and fulfilling their action items, if you can, is a step that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And that will help.
Yep.
Right. And it will help prevent people from taking the government from taking the land that is currently subject to be a public land.
Correct.
So do something. That's that's my action item for the day, or my final words, or whatever it is. Just do something, whether it's sign up for the newsletter, do the action items, donate, or volunteer, or something else that you think of. Just do something.
Yep. Yeah. I agree. Don't sit back and watch it happen. Do something to keep it from happening. Don't be the person that when everything is all said and done, you sit there and be like, the fuck just happened? Yeah.
Why did my lands get taken away from me?
Yep.
Don't be that person that just is like, well, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah. There absolutely is stuff we can do.
There is stuff that you can do.
Yep.
And even if you're not in these areas, right? Where was it? It was the South Sandwash in Colorado. Glen Canyon was that Lake Powell.
Around Lake Powell.
So like, what is that? Arizona, New Mexico kind of general area. Oregon Forest or Solar on the Western, right? Even if you're not in those areas, then sign up for the newsletter. Maybe something's going to be in your area, or even state like, hey, I've always wanted to go to the sand dunes up in Oregon. Don't take those away from me.
Yeah. Yep. There's definitely stuff you guys can do. So check out Blue Ribbon Coalition, go to the website, watch them, follow along with their social media. They put out a lot of really great informational and kind of entertaining stuff as well. And they help highlight I don't want to say the stupidity, but maybe the ignorance of a lot of the decisions that are happening on public lands right now. And it's just, it's almost comical how bad the decisions are and the reasoning behind the decisions.
Yes.
And Blue Ribbon's doing a great job at pointing those out and being like, this makes no sense. Like, what are we doing here, guys? So follow along with them. Get the newsletter, like Jimmy said, do something. I think that's great.
Yeah.
If you guys have questions on how to do any of that, just reach out to us. We'll help you get in contact with Blue Ribbon. If you have ideas on how you can help and you're like, hey, I think this could be a cool thing, but you're not sure how to do it or something, let us know. We might be able to help with it. Jimmy and I have some experience with working with public land managers and keeping an eye on what can be done. So reach out to us. We're over at Instagram where we have the voicemail, so you can call in and leave us some feedback. We can hopefully reply to it. 916-345-4744. There's emails. There's iRate 4x4 Facebook page. You guys know how to get a hold of us. So if you have questions, if you have some input towards it, you're curious about how something could be done or what you could do, let's have the conversation.
Absolutely.
So,
yep.
Jimmy, any final words to wrap up this fun episode today?
I'm just going to go back to what I said earlier. Do something. I think that's really the action item or what you need right now.
I like it. And with that, my friends, keep crawling.
I've probably said this one before, but since it's just coming up on the card, I'm going to repeat it.
Go for it.
And you know this one.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're an American when you go into the bathroom and you're an American when you come out of the bathroom, what are you in the bathroom?
Aren't you... Oh, European.
European. That is right. Yep. And do you know what you are when you're on the way to the bathroom?
Oh, God. I should know this. You're Russian.
You're Russian.
That's what it was.
Yep. And how about when you are done and you're leaving?
I don't know.
You're Finnish.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.